Hello everyone and welcome to Aerithyos episode 10, where I will be decorating the interior of my basalt generator and expanding my base into a series of underground passages. These passages will contain increased storage for the crop farms I built in the previous episode, 10 modules of wheat farms, a mud converter, and a hallway specifically dedicated to farmer villagers which will allow me to make passive income on my abundance of carrots and potatoes. First things first, I laid out some storage for all the mining I did in the previous episode, and then I moved on to my basalt farm, which was looking a little ugly to say the least. For a long time, I've been wanting to experiment with different color palettes, and since I usually work with darker ones, I wanted to use a lighter palette to decorate the interior, and contrast that with a darker palette as you approach the bottom. Instead of a single gradient, I decided to divide these block sets into distinct sections that make up the upper and lower pit. This palette would contain bone blocks, calcite, white wool, and snow. Soul Sand Valley. Really? I actually haven't encountered like a single gas. Let me cook. Really struggling to figure out what in God's name I want to do here. Because I'm not really liking this kind of design that I have going. You know what? This is actually fine. Oh, you know what this needs? This needs lights. I want to build with shroom lights because I actually have never built with shroom lights before. Okay. What you are currently seeing on screen, I actually did while streaming live on my YouTube channel, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank everybody who took the time to watch my stream and watch me just play some Minecraft. I really appreciate everybody who did that for me. And, I'm thinking maybe I'll put a segment at the end of my videos just to, thank some specific people. So if you want to be one of those people who gets thanked, then just type something in chat when I'm streaming. It could be literally anything, but it just tells me your name or your account or whatever so that I can put it in at the end, or else I sadly won't know who you are and I won't be able to thank you for taking the time to watch my streams. But with that being said, thanks to everybody who participated, and I appreciate you guys very much. Now that we've finished decorating the basalt generator, I have plans to cover up the top with a layer of glass, and so I need to make a way to get down there. After some brainstorming, I settled on water elevators that will be located in the towers directly across from the basalt generator. These will lead into a network of tunnels below the basalt generator, with increased storage and a bunch of farmer villagers to sell my crops to. Once again, I really wanted to experiment with a new palette and decided to use spruce wood. After a little bit of experimenting, I settled on a spruce, mud, and tuff palette, which I've wanted to build with ever since 1.21 came out, but never got the chance to. I also wanted to avoid the classic feeling that glowstone gives off, so I switched to shroom light sources, which look nicer and more modern Minecrafty. I need spruce wood, right? That's what I need, spruce. Alright. Holy crap. So none of it really snuck past me. I have the trading hall there for all the farmers so that we can trade all of these goods. And then we're going to have wool there. So wheat, wool, trading. What the hell just happened? Bro, I turned my back for half a minute. Don't you dare. Oh. That's a disc. This is the first disc I've ever gotten in Minecraft. That's like not from a dungeon death chest, because like I've never tried. I got weight, bro. I got weight. Look at this. Alright, I'm actually kind of rich. Hold up. Jukebox! Here. This song is a bot, bro. Okay. I don't know why, but every Minecraft musician ever has like totally cooked. And by every, I mean like two. Because there's one. C418 and Lena Rain. But yeah, Minecraft music is always a bot. Okay, so I'm recording this after the entire episode is done, but basically, with what you just saw, I built this entire center area and use diorite here, which I would later switch out for tuff because I feel like it complemented the tuff that is here a lot better. I connected these crop chests that are up here, these crop chests in this chamber, to a bunch of storage down here. So now we went from having 2 double chests to 5, and these produce quite a bit of bread. That's a lot. If you're paying attention to the time lapse, you will notice that I started building a staircase in this general vicinity, which gives me access to the baked potato smelter, and it just lets me turn it on and off and lets me access it to make sure it's not clogged up with anything at all. And then something that I won't be showing in this video is that I made this little area where I have an ender chest for all my resources. I've got my bed and I moved the jukebox over here. And then aside from that, we made this giant hallway for 18 farmer villagers, which I can sell my crops to. Now you might think 18 farmer villagers is a little bit excessive, but 18 farmer villagers is around a double chest and a half. And I have 5 double chests of carrots, which means it's going to take me about 3 Minecraft days to get rid of all of these carrots. That's an hour of playtime if I don't sleep. So as you can see, this is somehow not enough. And I really like that because if I have excessive amounts of villagers, then, you know, it just kind of pisses me off because I have way too many. And it just kind of ruins the aesthetic, like there's no point in this hallway. But since I have too little, it means that there is a room for expansion later on in the series if I actually feel the need to, and stuff like that. So in the previous episode, when I was building these wheat farms, or not these wheat farms, but these crop farms and these sugarcane farms, I realized that I actually really like experimenting with redstone. I used to experiment with redstone quite a bit when I was younger, and making like piston extenders and stuff, double piston extenders. But now that I'm older and, you know, I've coded and I'm more familiar with problem solving, I actually really like experimenting with redstone. And so that brings us to the next part of this build, and by far the longest, like not even close. So in order to make the build down there, I had to use quite a bit of mud, and while making that mud, I realized it's a very annoying block set to get. So first of all, you need wheat, which you combine with the mud itself to make packed mud and get the entire block set. But the thing is that these are wheat farms. When farmer villagers get wheat, they automatically convert it to bread. So essentially, I'm not getting any wheat out of these crop farms. This is a bread farm, not a wheat farm, right? So wheat is very annoying to get. And then also for dirt, for mud itself, you need dirt. And then you also need bottles. And essentially you just put some dirt down, and then you have to grab water and place the water bottle into each individual piece of dirt to make it mud. So every time you want one mud block, you need to put down a piece of dirt, mud convert it, and then get wheat. And so mud in smaller quantities isn't too bad, but in larger quantities, it's really tedious. So if I go over here, you'll see I made like a little nano farm so I could get wheat pretty easily. But then I realized that I have like 3 more tunnels that I still need to build. And I need a lot more wheat. And thus began the longest part of this project, this episode, designing a wheat farm that actually works. Alright, I'm going to try and be quick with this part. After a week of building, I came up with a lot of farm designs, which you can see around me. So originally I was going for a simple kind of design like this, because it is going to be part of the hallway, the wheat farm. So I wanted a nice and long design, but villagers have a certain range around their composter, and so I had to switch over to a square design, and so I started up with this. And this essentially works like your typical like semi-automatic farm, but instead there's villagers. And I attached a little timer which you can see back here. It's set to 30 minutes, and then it will cause water to flow, and then it will go through into this hopper, which gets only wheat. And then after that, it flows into this hopper by opening the trap door that's here, the trap door here. And then that lets it enter into this hopper, which will filter out the seeds. The seeds will then get ejected into this water stream and fed back to the villagers. Because the thing about semi-automatic farms, if we add in a villager, the villager would still need seeds. So the seeds have to be recycled from the collection system back into the farming module. And this was going great until I realized that villagers are usually really fast when it comes to breaking the wheat, and even with a timer, it doesn't work. So then I also had another design, if I can find it. Okay, so this is my other design for the exact same model. So for this part, I attach an observer to this block, and when a crop is placed, this observer will monitor the growth stages, and the block will move through these hoppers for each growth stage. And then eventually it'll trigger a mechanism that causes all the water to flow and then ejects it out. Once again, this was going great, and then I realized that this is actually quite a slow model, so it's not really efficient. And I'd end up trying to experiment with this several times, and it wouldn't exactly work. So then I tried this really unusual design, which if we go over here, you can see it. So then I moved over to this kind of shifting floor design, and essentially when the system registers that enough growth stages have occurred, it will just move the floor, right? And that breaks all of the seeds that are currently on this thing. But once again, this farm design was a little too long, so I had to switch it up. And at the same time, villagers, if you look at this design, they'd keep falling through this crack into the collection system and then suffocating. So I made like this kind of elevator here that feeds them into the same water stream as the seeds and recycles the villagers themselves back into the farming area, which is fine, a little funny. So when I finally figured out that I need to use a square farming area, I moved over to this kind of design, which works literally the exact same way. But I improved the timings on these pistons. And so if I can get it to work, then as you can see, the pistons are much faster, and it decreases the chances of the villager dying. But somehow, I don't know how, but villagers were like built to be unfathomably stupid. Because even if I like stand on this block, like this is the block that gets shifted, even then, like I won't fall through. But if you get pushed and then walk in this direction as this piston is moving back, you can somehow phase through the floor. And villagers, their pathfinding algorithm makes it so that this is somehow unnaturally common. Like every 3 floor switches, 80% of your villagers will just die and suffocate in the floor. And with this square design, you can't have a water elevator to save your villagers. So literally, they literally started killing themselves by phasing through the floor, through this tiny little narrow gap that you have to be timing properly when you're walking in order to access it, which is just absolutely absurd. And I tried everything to get them away from this area. I used double piston extenders. I even grabbed slime blocks and I attached them to normal pistons, right? So that they would get launched whenever this thing was run, right? And it would launch them. Okay, well the sticky pistons are breaking because there's blocks here. But anyways, I made so many different designs to try and get the villagers not to die. And their idiotic pathfinding kind of kicked in every single time and just screwed me over. And so this was sadly a dud. And it would have been a really cool design as well, having this shifting floor. That's just pretty epic. But throughout all of this trial and error, one of my earlier designs, which is this one, I realized was actually doing really well. As you can see, there's a lot of wheat here. And to test it, I usually turn on tick sprint. I go tick sprint. I don't have my LAN open right now. But I usually open up my tick sprint and I'd have this all running as I'm testing all these farms. And I'd go AFK overnight to check if the rates are sufficient under normal random tick rate speeds. And eventually I figured it out that that farm, the simple one, works. And so after that, I finally had a design that I was kind of working with. And so I made a better world where I then created this kind of hallway design. And you can see your villagers right here. And it has this compact sort of system. So to explain how this works, your villager has 8 slots where they can hold like seeds and wheat. And so first, this thing needs to AFK for about 14 hours before your villager's inventory fills up. After that, this minecart down here will be grabbing all of the items, which feeds into these 3 central hoppers. These all funnel into a single hopper, which is into this double chest. Another byproduct of this farm is actually bone meal, which is pretty nice. And then these hoppers below have filters. So wheat will get filtered into this main collection chest, and seeds will get filtered into this kind of hopper chain, which feeds into a dropper elevator. And similar to the droppers that I use in my crop farms, it registers when an item is available, enables this hopper clock, and then these redstone torches start to flicker on and off, enabling all of these droppers, and then it gets fed back to the villager. And then to complement this, I made a nice little hallway design. And so after spending a lot of time, I was able to build up all of these farming modules, as you can see. And I spent quite a bit of time on stream making all of these. So these actually took like absolute ages, and it's really tedious trying to build each and every single one of them since so many resources are required. And because of that, I actually had the idea that in the next episode, I'll be making a witch farm because part of their drop rates is redstone. Okay, so before we start the final time lapse of this video, here's some quick stream highlights. For the next 2 streams, we had an average of 4 viewers, and we peaked at 8. So thank you to everyone who spent the time and got me up to 8 consecutive viewers. I really appreciate it. New milestone for the YouTube channel. Thank you all. And at the end of this video, there are going to be some usernames of some people who took the time to interact with the streams. I try to stream as often as I can, but you know, school and all the rest of that stuff can really interfere with my schedule. 8 people watching, 8 people watching, 8 people watching. This is a monumental time period in my channel history. I don't know, stuff. That's actually crazy. 8 people watching. That's a whole 8 people. That means 8 people are taking the time out of their day to watch me play Minecraft. We need to get some more shroom lights. Oh my god. What happened? What happened? I went AFK overnight. What happened? Oh my god, there's an army. Alrighty, so now we've caught up to the present day and the current state of my base. Um, I'm planning to do a sort of log swamp type of thing. We're on episode 20 instead of 25. I'm going to be doing a world tour, so you'll get to see these passages a little better when that time comes. But some things that didn't make it into the video was this mud converter, which I showcased on stream. And this essentially will just automatically place water bottles into the mud, into dirt to make it mud. And then I can just apply the wheat directly and mine with a diamond shovel. And then I made this little downstairs area so that I can easily access my chests. It is quite obsolete, but I did make it because I want all parts of my base to look nice. And I felt that this storage access area could use a little bit of sprucing up. I will note it is asymmetrical. That's because down here I'll often get lost and not know which side is the mud converter and which side is going to lead me to the basalt generator. So that's why there's signs on that side and ladders on this side. So if anybody gets a little pissed about that and they're like, why is it asymmetrical? Now you know, it's got a practical reason. And then finally this part, I obviously wanted to make this look detailed as well since I decorated the storage area. And so I decorated this smelting region, and I used autocrafters to get this nice design. And with furnaces, right, this only works on like the top of it. So to have this kind of design on the side is actually quite convenient because it really fits well. And I'm just mentioning this because this part is a real pain to like make it look good. It's just weird having the structuring with this thick machine here, and then you got this wall next to it that you cannot get rid of. And it's just like really tight for space. It's really difficult to structure it. And I think I did a pretty decent job of getting this done. Aside from that, next episode, I'm going to make a witch farm for the redstone. And then this passageway will lead to a wool farm because I do actually kind of need wool. It's just good to have colored blocks. Aside from that, first music disc. And overall, I'm really happy with this episode. Thank you all for watching very, very much. And as promised, here are a couple names that I spotted throughout my streams. We didn't get too many people in chat, so there's not that many. But thank you, everybody, for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.